YouTube channel.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
No, we did have a brief technical problem, but it's been resolved. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, no problem. Participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx webinar, which is moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All participants will automatically be muted on entry, and when your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We also ask that you mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelists when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Members of the public and applicants are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance, and the host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that apply to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawfully non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of a decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body, in the event of an appeal, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, or in some limited circumstances, to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government recently amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. As of November 28, 2022, only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons, and public bodies, as those terms are defined in the Planning Act, are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. The hearing procedure is as follows. We'll call each item in the order listed in the agenda after first dealing with closed files and deferrals. I believe there's only one deferral this morning. Where an application is uncontested, and by uncontested, I just mean that there's no one here in attendance to speak to the matter in opposition. Not that we didn't receive opposition letters, but where an application doesn't have anyone present in opposition, the applicant or agent may proceed with the presentation if they desire, where the committee does not require a presentation. Applicants should advise the chair should they wish to address the committee, and the committee may ask questions of the applicant and then take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and the clock shows up in the room, and you'll be advised to wrap up when you reach 5 minutes. When addressing the committee, please start off by clearly stating your name and address for the record, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent proceeds first when there's someone here in opposition or with comments. The applicant proceeds first, makes their presentation to the committee. Please note the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals made at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if being substantially revised, in order to ensure both that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application have been informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed or with concerns with the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions after each speaker after they finish their presentations. When all speakers have finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues and answer those questions were raised by the speakers in their presentations, not to introduce new information at that time, and that will then mark the end of the discussion. The application is then taken into the committee for a decision. I believe we have the minutes of the last meeting, which was February the 9th, for approval. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes? Mr. Komaric, thank you. Good morning. Ms. Reddick, thank you. All in favor? Okay, the minutes are approved. Okay. Madam Secretary, we don't have any, okay, first of all, are there any declarations of interest of panel members or staff to declare on the matters before us this morning? Okay, none to declare. And no closed files this morning?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And I believe we have one deferral, which is item number 11.
We actually have 3 now. So items 2, 11, and 16 for the morning.
Okay. 2, 11, and 16. Okay. So let's, I guess we can start off with item number 2 then. And, okay. So item number 2 is 5 NASHLAND. It's an application to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling, a 2-story rear addition, a new front porch and rear deck, and there are 6 variances. So the speaker on this application looks like Anthony Bartolini. Sorry, that's number 6. Speaker is Lucas Cocomello, and as well we have an area resident on the line as well. So Mr. Cocomello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Lucas Cocomello from Etobicoke, 340 Church Street, Oakville. We were requesting a deferral of the application due to a front yard setback not being noted on the public hearing notice. With that being said, we require this again to be deferred to the next available hearing dates as requested.
Okay. And the purpose of that is there was a mistake in the variance, or?
We didn't know it's a front yard setback
Okay.
as part of the public hearing notice.
Okay, so you've identified an additional variance. Members, any questions for Mr. Cocomello? And if none, do I have a? Oh yeah, we have to check in with we have our area resident. I said Danny Carlos at 78 North Heights.
Good morning.
Road. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Not too bad.
Okay, I assume you're on the line to speak to this matter on the merits, but the applicant is asking for a deferral. So I assume you have no objection to the deferral.
No, I have no objection to the deferral. I actually have no objection to the plan. I was just interested in the topics at hand and understanding the process.
Okay, so just you can watch. There's 19 more applications this morning if you'd like to stay on and watch. Otherwise, you will be re-notified when this matter is brought back before the committee. There will be a further mail notification when it's reset.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, members, any questions for the applicant on the deferral? Or
Mr. Chair, we do have one more area resident on the line on the list there, Diana Morone.
Oh, okay, sure.
I,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Right. Does you are the owner of 86 North Heights, directly behind the sub property, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I assume you're here just like I thought Mr. Carlos was, to speak to the merits of the matter. Won't be doing that today. This matter is going to be deferred, so I trust you have no objection to deferral.
No objection.
Okay, you will be re-notified if you're within the notification area.
Thank you so much.
But when it's brought back on. Thank you. Have a nice nice day. Okay, members, and thank you, staff, for notifying me there was an additional speaker. Can I have a motion to defer, please? Mr. Taylor, thank you. Seconder for that. Mr. Komaric, thank you. All in favor? Okay, the matter is deferred. We'll see you here again, Mr. Cocamella. Okay, the next one is the one we had on the deferral memo, item number. Sorry, someone going to say something? Item number 11. 1244 Jane Street. The speaker for that is Ute Maya Giambattista. And we have a neighbor. No, we just have the architect on as well on the line on this. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. We are here
Yeah,
representing.
can you just please state your name for the record before you speak. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Utemaya Giambattista. I'm with Fulton Planning and Design. We are the planners and urban designers representing the owner at 1245 Jane.
Yep.
We are here in support of the city suggested deferral
Okay.
to update some of the minor variances requested.
Yep.
Yes, so we are currently
Okay, so this is for Laneway House, and you're okay with community planning suggested deferral of this matter.
yeah.
Okay. Members, any questions for the agent? And if no questions, is someone ready to make a motion of deferral? Mr. Komarek? I think you're on mute, or
I was, sorry. Yeah, defer so that the applicant can process with planning.
thank you. Seconder for that, please. Ms. Reddick, thank you. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. The application is refused. You will see her back again.
Deferred.
Deferred.
Sorry, you said refused.
No, I said we'll see you back here again.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, the last one is item number 1625 William Street. And I see we have several people on the line here. We have Jonathan Binkowski for the applicant. We have Raj Kahar, Weir Folds representing the neighbor at 2 Wadsworth Boulevard. And then we have an area resident from, we have the area resident from 2 Wadsworth. So I assume their lawyer will be speaking on their behalf. So Mr. Binkowski, welcome.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Hey, good morning.
Yes, Jonathan Benskowski, 301 Keewatin Avenue. Sir, we're requesting a deferral. I've spoken with planning regarding the report they've submitted. We have arrived at an acceptable number for planning. The issue is the designer is away and I have not been able to get revised plans. So the revised plans will reflect a hard 0.65 FSI. I'm just not able to provide those at this time. So the deferral request is to reduce that FSI to 0.65 to satisfy planning.
Okay.
And that's essentially the gist of it.
Okay, thank you. We'll just weigh in with the other, I guess the one neighbor represented 2 Wadsworth. Mr. Kahar?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is last name Kehar, K-E-H-A-R, first initial R for the record. Counsel for 2 Wadsworth. In opposition to the requested variances, we don't have any concern with the deferral, but would look to speak to it when it returns.
Okay, for sure. And it will be on revised plans with a revised GFA. So hopefully that will allay part of some of your concerns. If not, I guess there's time to work with, I don't know if the neighbors are in discussion or in communication at all. So thank you. You will be, your client will be re-notified when the matter is brought back on, of course.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for either Mr. Benkowski or Mr. Kahar, or someone ready for a motion?
We do have an area resident on the line, David Curry.
Oh, right. Oh, right.
Oh, sorry, he was represented
Sorry.
by Raj. My apologies.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay, members, any questions, or is someone ready for a motion? Let's roll. Mr. Taylor?
Mr. Chair, I'll move deferral to enable a revision to one of the variances.
Okay. Seconded by Ms. Reddick. Thank you. All in favor? The matters were deferred. We'll see you back here again. Okay, so that completes the deferrals. We can then go back to the top of the agenda and deal with item number 1, which is 28 OVIDA Avenue. It's an application to legalize and maintain the as constructed accessory structure in the rear yard. So there's just that one variance. Madam Secretary Treasurer, could you just do a brief introduction for this?
Sure. We have on file a previous decision of the subject property and an order to comply for the accessory structure.
Okay, thank you. And we have on the line Kevin Lowe, the agent for the applicant, as well as the neighbor next door at 26 OVIDA Avenue. Okay, so let's hear first from the agent. Mr. Lowe?
Yes, my name is Kelvin Lowe, and I'm from 375 14th Avenue, Markham.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
How about, I think we need a presentation from you. We have someone here on the line, so why don't you give us a presentation, please?
So, just brief, what we're trying to do is we're proposing a gazebo and accessory structure at the rear yard, and we are requesting a 0.61 meter setback instead of permitted setback of 1.56. And we believe the proposed structure is meet the general intent of the foretext of the minor variance. And I'm happy to address anybody concerned.
Okay, and this has already been built. Has this already been built?
Halfway, I
Halfway.
believe.
Okay. You don't have any pictures of the current situation or?
Just hold on. I believe they almost finished and they got auto comply.
I
if
see.
I remember correctly.
So it's almost finished. Okay. So, okay, members, any questions, or we're going to hear what the neighbors' concerns are? No questions at this time? Okay, let's hear from the neighbor. Chris Clark at 26. No relation, by the way.
No relation. Hello, sir. Yeah, my name is Chris Clark from 26 OVIDA Avenue. Yeah, I just wanted to voice my concern, not with the height variance, but with the lack of softscaping in the rear yard. So we're downhill from 28 OVIDA on the OVIDA on the east side, and there's much more hardscaping than reflected in the plan. We have a clear drainage issue along the fence line on that side of our yard. And in the past couple of years, we've noticed an increase in problems on that side. It's always wet and moist. The wood is rotting. There's moss and fungus growing, and it's been getting worse. So yeah, we have small children, and it's essentially a safety concern among others.
Okay. Staff, I don't know if they went through a PPR or did proceed on a waiver. We don't have that as a variance. We just have the one variance before us. We don't have a rear yard landscape variance or a coverage variance, which would, in the event that the matters that Mr. Clark is just referring to would result in a variance, we don't have that before us. So, Barb, do we know that they proceed by?
It was with a zoning review. I'm not sure if they've actually implemented all the landscaping that they've shown on the site plan.
Okay, so the agent respond to that, but based on the plans, if they don't reflect the as-built situation, and maybe there is a landscape variance or a coverage variance in the event. So let's hear back from. We'll see if Mr. Clark, are you finished then, or we can go back to Mr. Lowe for a response to your concerns. So basically, you've seen the plans and you know what's been built. I assume you don't have any pictures either of the.
I don't have photos. The survey dated January 4th is much more reflective of the yard. Not all the hardscaping is, I guess, shown there.
Okay. Because obviously, if the planning did the review based on what's shown on a plan, and if they didn't put as much soft landscaping as shown on the plan, then that would obviously, I don't know if they do an inspection following. In this case, it was built without a permit, so that's why they're here to legalize it. So let's go back and hear what Mr. Lowe's explanation is for that.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
I think as per our staff, like our company measurement, the hard landscape is reflected on our site plan. And then if there are difference between the as measure or as built, then the inspector can point it out after the permit's approval. But then right now, that's what we measure on the site plan. And then it's reflected on the hard landscape area and the soft landscape area is reflected on our site plan.
Okay,
I
but
don't think that would be.
in this case, I guess there was no inspector because I guess they built without a permit. Is that the case? They got the ordinance to apply. So is this, or are they gonna put it this way? Is the intent at the end of the, based on what's there now, to make further revisions to improve the soft landscape situation as compared to what the neighbor sees from next door? Or actually,
So, yeah. So the inspector.
So I know they're not finished, or you said they're not finished,
Yeah.
almost finished, but so the first question is what the neighbor sees, is that the end game? Is that all that's going to be done, or is there going to be more soft landscaping added? And if not, does that trigger a variance? And that's been looked at by city staff or by whoever examined this.
So here's what happened. The inspector was on site, so they inspected and they only point out that there's only the proposed structure is changed, and then if the soft landscape doesn't comply, then the homeowner will be make adjustment to comply with soft landscape as per the zoning bylaw.
Yeah, because if they don't comply, they're gonna have to come back for another variance.
Yes, they are not going for asking for variance for the soft landscape at the moment.
Okay. Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, if you compare it to the survey, there are differences. The interlock or concrete pad does look larger on the survey, and there are additional structures shown on the survey that do not appear on the site plan.
Okay. Mr. Lowe, is there structures being removed?
Let's see.
As shown on this, what Madam Secretary Treasurer is pointing out to you, that there is discrepancy in the interlock, and also there's a structure shown that aren't referred to. So those structures going to be removed?
I believe so. If there's, because when we go on site measurement, we only see one shed beside the proposed structure. That's what we draw. But if there's any additional structure is there, it will be removed because it's not applied for.
Okay. Members, does anyone have any questions below or for the neighbor, Mr. Clark?
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, I see two wood sheds. One is permitted as of right, the other one's not. So does the applicant have a problem that if we add a condition of approval that the second wood shed be removed?
Second wood shed, which one you are talking?
The one that's closer to the house.
The one that's closer to the house. Yes, I don't think it's, we don't have a problem with that.
Okay, there's on that survey, there's also two canopies indicated. Can you explain what those are and if they still exist?
Let me just double check.
Because when I look on Google Maps, I can see those structures.
Because I believe we talked to the homeowner, and then that's what they want to show. Because I think they already know that those structure is not compliant. So that's why we didn't show it. And if we don't show it, it intend to be removed.
Okay, but it doesn't indicate that it's to be removed. It's just on your site plan, you just don't show it. So
I think you can put a condition on it.
Okay.
For the variance approval. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, Mr. Kamark, or anyone else?
no, that's fine. I'm just trying to formulate a motion in my head right now. You know, to motion to approve, subject to any structures not shown on the site plan, whatever that date is. Any existing structures not shown on that site plan to be removed.
Do you want to say maybe landscaping shall be provided as shown on the site plan submitted with the application, which includes removal of certain canopies and sheds?
And a wood shed, even better, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Seconder for that motion? Mr. Taylor, thank you. All in favor? Okay, the application is unanimously approved. Thank you to both speakers, and we'll move on to item number 3, which is 18 KIRK Braden Road West. We have a revised notice for the application highlighted to show changes. So there were 3 variances. There are still 3. The coverage has been reduced from 45% to 39.4. And we have one speaker, Todd Kerr, who looks like is the agent, is the homeowner and agent, or the other co-owner. Madam Secretary, you can just do a brief introduction, please.
Sure. 18 KIRK Braden, we have revised minor variances, which is shown on the revision page with a waiver and plans and a previous decision for the property.
Thank you. Okay, so let's hear from the speaker, Mr. Kerr.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, committee.
Morning.
Phoning in from a snowy Denver, Colorado. We had previously done an addition to our house. We built over the garage and the rear of the house. That was 2009, 2010. At the time, my wife and I simply didn't have the money to do the rear addition where we filled in behind the garage and sort of squared off our house. And that's what we're looking to do now. We are, from a variance perspective, we're certainly in keeping with the neighborhood, and we do consider the 3 variances to be minor.
Okay, thank you. Nothing from planning or other city departments. I don't know, does any know urban forestry on this? So let's see if the members have any questions for you. And if not, if someone's ready to weigh in with a motion.
If there's no questions, I'm prepared to weigh in with the motion. Motion to approve this variance application. I find it to be minor in nature and consistent with the 4 tests.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. Seconder for that motion. Mr. Palmer.
Friendly amendment, just variances as revised, seeing as how variance
Right.
the coverage was knocked down a little bit.
Based on the revised. Yeah, and the revised.
Accepted as revised.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval.
Thank you all for your time.
Okay, have fun in Colorado. Okay, item number 4 is the next application. It's also a revised notice for the agenda. It's 18 Greenmount Court, proceeding by way of a waiver. It's to construct a 2-story east side addition. There are 3 variances. 2 of those have been revised. And the speaker for this application is Diego. It looks like it's the homeowner, so it's either Diego Moratorio or Isabel Tobia.
It's going to be Diego,
Welcome.
and Diego, I've changed you to a panelist so you can turn your video on if you'd like.
Oh, okay. And in the meantime, Madam Secretary, you can do a brief introduction.
So we have the revised plans, variances and waiver on file, an email from the agent advising of the revisions, and comments from planning, and they have a condition recommended. And you also have forestry condition, I believe.
Right. Okay, so let's hear from Diego. Diego Moratorio.
My name is Diego Moratorio, a resident at 18 Greenmount Court in Etobicoke, M8Y1Y2. Good morning to all.
Good morning.
So our proposal is to add a 2-story east addition. A couple of initial variances were adjusted after the first review, so length of the dwelling and rear setback. There's a couple of minor variances still that we wanted to put in front of this committee, which was the total FSI and the side setback, which is, I believe the bylaw is 1.2 meters. We're right now at 0.96 centimeters. The reason for that, and it's only on the 2nd floor, not on the 1st floor, it's just because in order to make it functional and not having to jump over a bed in the 2nd story, we would need that space to just go around to get from one side of the room to the other side of the room.
Okay. Members, any questions for Mr. Moratorio? And if no questions, is someone ready
Just
to?
wanted to clarify, there is, I don't see an FSI variance here. It's a lot coverage, is that correct?
Yeah, there's a lot, the lot coverage, I think the bylaw is 33 point.
No, that's fine, but you're not asking for FSI, because I think in your presentation you mentioned FSI. And you're asking for 0.94 or 0.96 on your setback.
0.94.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or someone ready for a motion?
I'll go for a motion. I believe the application meets the 4 tests and would like to move approval as revised, subject to forestry condition 2.
Okay, thank you. Second for Mr. Komarik's motion, Mr. Taylor.
Yes, could I suggest a friendly amendment to also include the community planning condition?
Yes, indeed. Missed that.
Okay, so I've seconded a revised motion.
Okay. All in favor of the revised motion? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Your application has been approved. Okay, the next application is item number 5, 15 Greenbrook Drive. It's an application to construct a new second-story rear platform. Looks like there's one variance. It's a total number of platforms at the rear side of the altered building is the one variance before us. Madam Secretary, can do a brief briefing as to what we have before us.
There's a comment from Ravine, but they have no recommended conditions.
Okay, and that's it. And we do have a speaker. We have the 2 speakers. We have the Michael Lafreniere, the agent for the applicant, as well as we have the area residents at 12 King George Drive. One of them. So, Mr. Lafreniere, welcome.
Hello. I think it's a reasonably straightforward application in front of you. It's
start off by stating your name and address just for the record.
Michael Lafreniere. I'm the architect at 951 Ossington.
Okay. Welcome.
So you can see in the drawing there, we're putting an addition on an existing third. We're removing the attic and putting a 3rd floor where the attic is, so the building is a little bit taller, a little bit bigger. There are no FSI setbacks or any other variances. We have one simple variance. We are required to have a balcony as part of the building code when we have a 3rd floor, and we can't do a egress window. So there's a small balcony on the 2nd floor that exists right now, and we prefer to put the balcony on the back, which has the south view. It's a very deep lot with a ravine in the back, so it's approximately 75 meters from that balcony to any other structure on the opposite side. So there's really no overlook issues of any consequence here because it's incredibly far. So.
Okay, and it's obviously a big. That's where you have there's no other variances. It's not building. You're just building up, not out. So there's no other variances.
That's right, and there's no FSI either, given that the lot is large and.
Exactly. Okay, so let's. Any questions for Ms. Lafreniere, or else we have another neighbor on the line to hear from. Mr. Taylor.
Yes. May I ask the agent? I'm presuming that you haven't requested a size variance for this platform, that it's 4 square meters or less in area?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll hear from either Kim or David Watkins at number 12 King George Drive.
Yes, hello, my name is Kim Watkins. I'm at 12 King George's Drive. I'm the neighbor that is at the back of the property. Between our 2 properties, we share a natural ravine. And yes, there is lots of land behind us, but the land descends from our properties downward. And one of the noticeable differences, there's been much construction on that property that we're talking about. So this is now an additional construction. And my main concern is that there's been a number of trees that have been taken down on that property. Our ravine is to be preserved. And I know that the Conservation Authority has also been concerned about the number of trees that are being taken down for construction purposes. So I'm just concerned that now that trees have been removed, I'm hoping that the owner of the property will add to the tree canopy that has been taken down, because on my side, I do hear more noise from those neighbors that we're talking about as well. And I don't want to discourage anyone from enhancing their property. I'm all for beautifying their properties. I don't want to sound negative, but since they've started the construction, I'm hearing more noise from that end of the ravine. There's less trees because of the construction. There's more lighting on the back of the property. So at night it sort of glows, and it's supposed to be I bought my home to have a ravine in the backyard, not a huge dwelling with lights all around, which is creating a light pollution and fewer animals. We're seeing less wildlife in the treasured, preserved wildlife natural area. So questions are there going to be an additional lighting features that are going to be adding to this structure, which already has a number of lights on the back of the property? And two, are they going to be able to put in some trees to replace the ones that were taken down for noise protection and just for sight lines as well? Because I can see it. They might think it's so far back, but you definitely can see the property from my property.
Yeah, in most places you can see the next property from the property in terms of. So as just to remind you, ma'am, and we appreciate your concerns, the stating your concerns. The only variance before this committee is for the second balcony, and the balcony. Sometimes usually we get a variance on the size of the balcony. There's no, as Mr. Taylor inquired, there is no variance for that. So the only singular matter before us, and I appreciate as good neighbors like to hear the response, especially to light pollution issues. But or the privacy on this one, the additional balcony, because that's the only thing before this committee is the one additional balcony, which is a balcony that otherwise complies in terms of size. So let's hear back from anyone. Let's hear back before we go back to the agent for his rebuttal. I just wanted to do that reminder of what's before us, just in terms of what this committee can do. Does anyone have any questions for the neighbor before we do that? For Ms. Watkins? Okay, if so, let's go back to, sorry, it's not Watkins, it's,
I would say that, I mean, as a part of this process, we are required to have a TRCA permit, and in terms of, not this process, but the building permit process.
Yeah.
And I can't speak to any tree removals. I wasn't involved in any tree removals, so if there have been tree removals, I'm sure there have been. If she says there is, I just can't comment because I wasn't there and I don't know anything about it. What I would say is, as the other committee member mentioned, the balcony is smaller than 4 square meters, so it's not a big party balcony that has a big additional noise impacts beyond what's already there. In terms of lighting, I don't think either the building permit process or this process has much that they can control on the lighting side, but I'm happy to mention something from that point of view to my clients so that they're conscientious about that moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Komarek?
Yeah, I mean, I find the application to be minor. I totally understand the purpose of it, and I'd like to move approvals with no conditions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Seconded for that motion? Mr. Palmer, thank you. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. The application is approved. Thank you to both speakers. And we'll move on to the next item, which is item number 6, 38 4th Street. This is an application to construct a 2-story south side addition and to maintain the existing driveway. There are 2 variances, and we have one speaker, Anthony Bartolini, who looks like, hold on. Yes, he's the agent for the applicant. And Barb, can you do a brief introduction of what we have before us?
We have comments from Transportation Services. They're okay with the proposal, no recommended conditions, and a letter in opposition from 36 4th Street.
Right next door. Okay. Mr. Bartolini, welcome.
Hello, members of the committee. My name is Anthony Bartolini, and I'll be speaking to this application for my client from 38 4th Street. Today, did you want me to provide a presentation, or are the variances clear and we can move forward?
Okay. Members, does anyone require a presentation? No, I see people shaking their head. Okay, no, just maybe when we just give us a 1-minute review, and then we'll see if anyone has any questions for you. This is just to construct a 2-story south side addition, maintain the existing driveway.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, we are proposing 2 variances. One just related to the dimensions of a proposed front yard parking space, and then just the location of that parking space.
So everything is the parking related. So.
Correct.
Okay, so any questions for Mr. Bartolini, or someone ready for a motion? Pretty straightforward, and no one here in opposition. We do have the opposition letter. Would you like to address that?
Sorry, Michael, was that a question for me?
I just wanted to know if members thought there was anything that required answering on that, or otherwise, let's see if someone wants to just weigh in with a motion. Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied that the 2 requested variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval without conditions.
Thank you. Seconder for that? Mr. Palmer, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, sir. You have your application's been approved. Okay, our next application is item number 7, 2B, LaRush Drive, sorry, and it's to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. We do have a revised agenda sheet notice application. It's been highlighted to show revisions. There were 6 variances. There's still 6 variances, but 3 of those have been revised. The coverage, the FSI, and the rear lot line variance is shown on the screen. And there is one speaker for this, Tomaz Gural. And perhaps, Madam Secretary Treasurer, while we're getting an introduction from the homeowner, Mr. Gural, just give a brief introduction.
So we have revised plans with the variances and a zoning review. There's the previous decisions for the property, and we have comments as well as recommended conditions from both community planning and transportation services, and also a condition number 3 from urban forestry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, welcome, sir.
Thomas, you are unmuted. Mr. Chair, we were having some issues with his microphone during the microphone check.
Yeah.
So, Thomas, if you'd like to try and call in.
Yeah.
And then.
We can maybe stand this down until, well.
Yep.
I thought I heard him for a second, no?
No, that was me.
Oh, that was you. Okay, sorry. Yeah, this is when during the soundtrack it sounded like we were going to have a presentation from Alvin and the Chipmunks. Although some of you youngsters probably don't know what that means. So yeah, let's hold this matter down until you can make contact with Mr. Gural. So we'll hold that one. Okay, so let's move over to item number 8, which is 41 PRENNAN Avenue. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage, and the existing detached garage in the rear yard will be demolished. There is only the one variance, the GFA. There is only the one speaker, John Calmone.
Actually, Mr. Chair, we had a last minute change. It's going to be Darren Sills presenting this application.
Darren Sills?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's the homeowner. Okay. Staff, can you, Madam Secretary, can you just do a brief introduction?
The only information we have on file is a revised zoning review. There are no changes to the plans, but I'm not clear if there are any changes to the requested variances. The applicant will have to address that.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Yes, hi.
Can you just state
Yep.
your name and address, please, before you start?
Yeah, my name's Darren Sills. I'm the owner of 41 Brennan Avenue.
Okay. So you're building a new home and
Yeah.
one variance.
Yeah,
So-
one minor variance there. Nothing else has been changed. Other than that one minor variance itself.
Yeah, so you're 42 square meters over. Otherwise, the new home complies with all the other requirements, height,
Correct.
other setbacks. So kudos to you to only come in with one variance. Members, any questions for the homeowner, or is someone ready for a motion? We do have all those conditions. Perhaps, sir, are you okay with all the conditions being requested by community planning and transportation?
That
Is
was
there-
for the previous
No.
application.
Well, that was for the previous one. Okay.
Forestry conditions only.
Okay. That was for the one that we didn't. Okay. The one we didn't proceed with. Okay. So in that case, it's straightforward. So is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Komaric.
Yeah, it's definitely minor in my view and worthy of approval. So I'd like to move for approval subject to forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Okay. Seconder for that. Ms. Ruddick, thank you. All in favor? It's unanimous. You have your approval. And okay, we can move on to item number 9. Number 9 is 15 Jackson Avenue. It's an application to construct a 2-story rear addition and a new covered front porch. There are 3 variances, and the speaker for this application is William Hall. Madam Secretary, you're going to do a brief introduction.
Yes, would you like a quick walkthrough on this one?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I was muted. We have forestry comments where they're recommending refusal. There are comments from TTC, which I would recommend be advisory. They've also, in their comments, referenced the wrong address, so I'm not sure if they just did a copy paste type of situation. There's a letter in support from 13 Jackson. There are forestry conditions recommended, and the agent has responded to the forestry comments in your additional materials.
Okay, welcome, Mr. Hall.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. My name is William Hall, Architrave Design Architect. I'm representing the homeowners today for 3 variances they have requested. GFA and 2 variances regarding the length and depth. As you, I'm sure, noted on the site plan, this is a very narrow lot, as they tend to be closer to Bloor Street, 10 meters wide. And when constrained, there is always a sort of a tendency for numbers to be exaggerated slightly. In terms of the JFA, it's hard. You'll probably also note that the average setback line is actually 5 feet in front of the existing home, 1.48 meters. And that alone accounts for almost all of the need for a variance on length and depth. If the front of the existing home was in line with the front setback, then variances number 1 and 2 would not be needed in the first place.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, and we're aware of the forestry comments. I'm a little perplexed as to why they recommend refusal. We would prefer the committee just let us engage with them and let the process follow in natural course. And if they issue a permit, then that's fine too.
Okay, members, any questions for Mr. Hall? Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, I just wondered if Mr. Hall is aware that urban forestry, while they did have a denial recommendation, they also had a backup clause for a condition for us to consider, number 2, with regard to a private tree. So are you aware of and okay with that if that condition were imposed?
Yes, absolutely. In the letter in front of you, in fact, that was my request that you go with their backup recommendation. And basically all it means is refusal or not, we can engage an arborist and we can take this forward purely on its merits and make the arguments on its merits in the appropriate forum rather than here.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Hall? And if not, can someone ready to weigh in with a motion? Mr. Taylor?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied that the 3 variances being requested are minor in nature and meet the other tests under the Planning Act. I move approval subject to urban forestry condition number 2.
Okay, thank you. Seconder for that? Mr. Palmer? All in favor? It's unanimous. You have your approval, Mr. Hall. Application has been approved. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I believe the agent has called in for item 7, call-in user 3.
Okay, let's go back to item number 7.
Thomas, can you hear me? Yes. We're just
I can hear
gonna,
you. Do you hear me?
yes, we're just gonna present the application and then you can have your time to speak.
Okay, so this application to be LaRush Drive is to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. We have a revised agenda. There were 6 variances, there still are, but 3 of those have been revised. And Madam Secretary Treasurer can do a brief introduction of this application. I think we may have already done it before we were able to make contact with Mr. Garral, but perhaps just to refresh.
Sure, we have the revised variances along with the revised plans and zoning review, previous decisions for the property, and comments from Community Planning and Transportation Services together with recommended conditions, as well as a condition from Urban Forestry.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, sir. Mr. Garral.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Hassan Kral. I'm the applicant and the agent for 2 B LaRush.
Okay. I don't believe we need a presentation. Is there anything you'd like to let us know about before I see if members have any questions for you?
I mean, we're back here for the second time. We worked with planners, and planners were in favor of this this plan that we have forth today. So I'm hoping that you guys agree with planning.
Okay, when you say you've been back here, you mean just the fact that you made revisions requested by planning. You haven't been to committee before, have you?
We went to committee. We hired a planner, and that application was refused. So we made new plans, and then we had additional conversations when we applied this time around, and we made those revisions, which are the ones that you're seeing today, the ones that are crossed out with red.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members, any questions for Mr. Garral, or someone ready to weigh in with a motion?
No questions, but I'm ready for motion. The variances as revised are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act. So I'll move approval subject to planning conditions tying it to the site plan dated February 14th regarding front yard and rear yard, and subject to the transportation conditions and subject to forestry condition number 3.
Okay, thank you. Seconder for Mr. Palmer's motion. Mr. Taylor, thank you. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. You have your approval, Mr. Garral. Have a great day. Okay. Okay, we'll do the next application, item number 10, and then perhaps we'll have our morning break because we're about halfway through. 29 Edgemore Drive. This is an application to construct a two-story rear addition, a second-story addition above the existing dwelling. There are 6 variances. Madam Secretary Treasurer, can you please do the introduction, and then we'll hear from Mr. Romano, as well as neighbor who is present as well to make submissions. 31 right next door.
So on file, we have the arborist report on a window agreement with the neighbor, the presentation materials from the applicant. Planning is recommending refusal. Transportation services is okay with the proposal. There are 5 form letters in support and letters of no concern from 31 and 27 Edgemore.
Okay. Okay, let's hear from, we do have the neighbor from 31 online, perhaps just to deal with the issue of the window agreement, but we'll hear perhaps from the neighbor. We'll start off hearing from Mr. Romano.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Franco Romano, Action Planning, 2095 Autumn Credit.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Okay,
And
thank you.
I assume the neighbor, the neighbors on the line, I assume they have no objection and are just here to, or perhaps they do. I know they have the window agreement, so perhaps we'll be hearing from them as well, if you happen to know.
I'll speak to the consultation.
Yep.
Thank you. I'll speak to the consultation and what's occurred with both. So thank you, staff, for bringing up that my slides. I have, I believe, 10 slides there, but the first one shows that the proposal is for a building addition. So it's a top up, but also an extension to the rear of about 8 feet to 12.5 feet. And you'll see it's squaring off the rear. So the existing coverage is already over the permitted 33%. It's at about 35%. And that's in keeping with not only the street, but various properties throughout the neighborhood, because the lot fabric is one where there's a number of properties that are smaller than the base zoning lot size. So the existing lot size is smaller than the 13.5 meters and the 510 square meters that the zoning bylaw regulate generally, which is why what we'll see on the street and in the neighborhood is that there are properties that exceed lot coverage and floor index. So the proposal maintains basically the existing side yard setbacks, east and west, and they're not uniform, so they do expand up to 1.2 meters, but the side yard setbacks are existing. The building length is only because of the box window at the front. Well, generally only for that, because the balance of the building from the main front wall to the rear wall is about 17.4 meters at its longest point. The driveway width is existing and it's a brick driveway, so it's interlock and transportation service has no concerns with that. So that front yard landscaping is existing. So that 42% front yard landscaping is existing. So we have a number of variances here that deal with a footprint that are existing, and the increase in the rear is what increases the lot coverage. So if we turn to the next slide, we'll see that lost the slides. So we'll see that the building addition still maintains less than the overall permitted building height under the zoning bylaw, and the wall heights are bylaw compliant, and I'm showing there in blue basically where the addition is. So if we turn to slide number 6, we're going to see in the neighborhood and on the street, there are a number of properties that have received approvals for floor space index. In some cases, it's just the square meters, and in other cases, we see the square meters and the floor space indices. The approvals range up to 1.02 and lot coverage approval 4%, but that doesn't explain everything. When we just look at the existing street and the existing block, so the immediate context on Edgemore, floor space indices range up to 0.92, and lot coverages range up to 40%. So I appreciate that planning staff say in their report that some of these performance standards deal with consistency, but there isn't a consistency. And the consistency that does exist is that there are some variations from property to property, just like this site currently is at 35% lot coverage. Right next door, it's at 26%, but two properties over, it's at 46 and 8% lot coverage. So that's a variation that's indicative of what the neighborhood is like and the street is like. So I just disagree with planning staff's assertion that the proposal is out of keeping with the neighborhood for FSI and lot coverage. It's very much in keeping and certainly reflects the existing context. Now, both neighbors have diligently worked with the owner, and there are several slides at the back of this presentation, slides 7, 8, 9, and 10, which aim to work towards addressing some of the federation as well as the some other built form elements that the owner, the applicant, so the owner of the subject property, and the immediate neighbors to the east and west have received an understanding for. And for number 31, we'll see for number 31 Edgemore, what we'll see on slide number 10 is, and thank you, that's appreciate that. The plans that were submitted to the Committee of Adjustment show two vertical windows where the staircase is located in the middle of the building, and that is being removed and replaced with skylights. And that's what's shown in slide number 10. And if you go to slide number 9, in the lower elevation, which is the west elevation, the second floor windows that were, I guess, conventional windows have changed to high level windows. And there's also some other changes with some of the other fenestration there. Yep. So those are in draft form. And what I would submit, sir, is that I appreciate the input from the neighbors and the owner's diligence in working towards resolution on the built form elements. But it's my opinion that the application satisfies all 4 tests for a minor variance and creates no unacceptable adverse impact.
Okay, thank you. And that's nice to see people working with the neighbors to come to something that's acceptable, and that's always the best. Just before we go on, I just want to clarify, there was every about 10 seconds of your presentation, there was like a momentary glitch. Just want to make sure the members don't need anything clarified, that they were able to, I was able to follow, but it was almost like every 10 seconds, it would just go dead just for a brief second. So everyone's okay. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Romano before we just go up and hear from the neighbor? Okay, let's hear then from either Linda or Joe Planica at 31 Edgemore.
I just wanted to, hi, my name is Linda Palanica, owner of 31 Edgemore. We have worked with the neighbor and have agreed to support the variances that he's requested. He has also agreed to replace the 2 windows on the second floor east side, which would have impacted directly on our bedroom, kitchen windows, as well as our backyard. So I am in agreement. I have no further questions or no further responses.
Okay, so those were the what Mr. Romano showed us on slide number 10, those windows being vertical windows being replaced with skylights.
That's correct.
Okay, excellent. Always love to see neighbors, working together like this to come up with something that is acceptable to everyone. Okay, any questions? Anyone have any questions for the neighbor? Or if not, I guess we can just go back to Mr. Romano as a courtesy and think there's any rebuttal necessary to that. Mr. Romano, nothing to add, I take it?
No, I do not. And thank you for the neighbor for their participation and their involvement. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So members, any questions, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Komorek?
I just wanted to clarify how we're going to entrench the neighbor's requests. Should we approve this? And maybe Mr. Romano can have a suggestion on how that condition should look.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it is something that can be done as a condition. And the purpose behind my explaining it on the record is given the good faith, and actually with number 31 there was a signed agreement between the two neighbors, so that would enforce that condition. So I have put it in as a matter of public. I worked really hard, and I also appreciate the architect worked really hard to come up with at least the draft, and you can appreciate that architectural drawings have a lot of minutia to them, and that's why they were just provided as draft, because was trying to get it in by the deadline. The only thing I
That
can
leads
suggest,
to my, you don't want to tie it to any of those elevations because they're just draft, right?
that's correct, sir. What I could suggest is you could tie construction to be substantially in accordance with a site plan drawing, so then you can see where the building is located in relation to neighboring properties, but not the elevations. And just in terms of number 27, there's a lot of items in there that deal with vegetation and venting and whatnot, which are really outside of the purview of the committee's domain.
Yeah, so it's reflecting an agreement and shown. So Mr. Romano is a very reputable planner that appears before us regularly, and the neighbor was on the line to participated, at least the neighbor at 31 to participate.
No, I understand all that.
Yeah.
Just
I
wanted
was
to voice for the record that there's no way that we can formally tie that, so.
Exactly. Okay, I was thinking the same thing. Okay, any further questions, or some ready for a motion based on what it is we can actually do? Mr. Taylor?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would just echo your comments about the competence of Mr. Romano, who we've enjoyed dealing with over the years. A very thorough and compelling presentation, and certainly helped me take comfort in having to deal with the planning recommendation to refuse the FSI and coverage. I'm satisfied due to Mr. Romano's presentation that this in fact is appropriate development on this lot and in this neighborhood. I have no reluctance to move approval, subject to urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. Second for Mr. Taylor's motion. Mr. Palmer, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Romano. You have your application's been approved. And it is now 10:40. Perhaps we take a 15-minute break to return at 10:55. I think we're well placed to finish this agenda the remaining of the morning before noon. So I think we can take a unless anyone has any objection. Okay, so we'll see everyone back here at 10:40, 10:55. Okay, welcome back. Oh, looks like we just about have everyone. So the next application is item number 12. Okay, I'm unmuted. 136 Westmore Drive. It's an application to alter the proposed seniors facility to provide additional floor space index. There are two variances, and the speaker for this application is Greg Uens. Madam Secretary Treasurer, if you can do a brief introduction, provided you're back. Okay. Looks like we have the site plans. We have a letter from a cover letter. Barbara, you back?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, also received after the additional materials package went out. Actually, last night we received this counselor letter. Adam has it and he can put it up on the screen.
Okay. Okay, the speaker for this application is Greg Uens. We only have the one speaker, so.
Hello there, Mr. Chair, many members. My name is Greg Ewens. I'm a land use planner and I'm representing the applicant at 136 Westmore Drive. Just a quick summary of the application. We're here today requesting two variances to the site-specific bylaw to facilitate the completion of a seniors building on the subject site. As a matter of background, the previous owners of the site amended the official plan and zoning respecting this property back in 2010 to permit a 5-story seniors residence. Ancillary commercial uses are also permitted. Construction commenced on the building following these approvals. However, the previous owner was unable to complete the project for financial reasons. So the building sat partly completed for a number of years. The current owner acquired the property and intends to complete the building and finally open up the site to seniors housing that was approved nearly a decade ago. To facilitate the completion of the building, we are requesting two variances today. The new owner is proposing to complete the building substantially in accordance with the form that was permitted. The height and dimensions of the building, as it's partially constructed, those are not proposed to change. We are, however, requesting a small ground floor overhang facing south be enclosed to provide more space for both seniors housing and ground floor amenity for the residents. This results in a floor space variance to increase the permitted residential floor area. And this request is also intended to improve the provision of seniors housing in the building and provide a much greater variety and amount of on-site amenities. An earlier version of the proposal included commercial uses on part of the ground floor. And while we're not recommending the removal of the commercial use permissions, we are not proposing commercial uses in the building at this time. Given the considerable range of commercial, restaurant, service, and medical uses within walking distance of the site, future residents to the building are well served by these uses. And from an operations, safety, and security point of view and a programming perspective, it's actually very uncommon for seniors buildings to include separate unrelated ground floor retail spaces. The second variance requests reducing the minimum setback from the west property line fronting Highway 27. It's currently 21.62 meters. We're requesting 21.07, which is a reduction of 0.55 meters. This acknowledges the location of the existing building that was partly constructed by the previous owner, and this will have no impact on the function of the setback or its ability to accommodate landscaping in this space. We have been working collaboratively with city planning staff on finalizing a site plan application to secure landscaping and other design matters, and we look forward to finalizing that and continuing construction. Planning staff are not objecting to the proposal. So in summary, in effect, these two variances alter in a minor way the interior composition of the permitted and partly constructed 5-story building to ensure a better programmed, more secure space dedicated to accommodating the city's aging residents, not to mention finally complete this building. The proposal is consistent with the city's objectives regarding the provision of a range of housing forms and tenures across the city, and supporting the creation and growth of complete communities to accommodate residents at all stages of life. In my opinion, the requested variances meet the 4 tests prescribed under the Act. They are consistent with the general intent and purpose of the official plan, the zoning bylaw. They represent desirable and appropriate development of the land and are minor in nature. Thank you for your time and consideration today. I would be happy to respond to any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ewens, for describing what is very important, badly needed housing, and specifically housing for seniors. So a good thing that this building will finally now be completed and built and housed accordingly. Any questions for Mr. Ewens, members?
Yeah, Palmer, just one question. Just so the amenity areas in the building that are geared towards the residents are considered part of the residential use as opposed to the commercial use. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So the commercial use is really a third party use, unrelated to the, although it could be related, I guess, to the senior residents in the building, but they're third party commercial uses that won't be put in.
Yes, it would be third-party uses. The amenities proposed, there's a gym, there's a meditation room, general purpose room, prayer room, and others as well. And so the bylaw permits commercial space. It doesn't require it on the ground floor expressly. So we're proposing to use the majority of the ground floor for additional residential space and more amenity for the building residents.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, sir. When was the date of like the original plan and the original configuration? That was, I guess, some years ago.
I believe 2010, the original zoning and official plan amendment were passed. They were amended slightly in 2012.
Okay, so the fact is, following COVID and the recognition in terms of need for seniors, amenity space is certainly very, very vital. It certainly improves the application based on what's transpired over the last 10 years, 13 years. In terms of recognizing that amenity space, both indoor and for seniors and for indoor and outdoor for other every other use and some condos and the like. So it's certainly an improvement over what was not built. So even though it was delayed, hopefully you'll have a better result with this plan. Okay, someone ready for motion?
Yeah, I'm ready for a motion. Variances requested are minor in nature, meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act, so I'll move for approval with no conditions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Palmer. Seconded for that. Mr. Taylor, thank you. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Ewens, and we'll see you again. Have a great day. The next application is item number 1321 Robinhood Road. It's an application to construct a new pool cabana in the rear yard. There are 3 variances, and I believe there's only the one speaker. Yes, Darren Sanger Smith. Madam Secretary Treasurer, can you just do a brief introduction of what we have before us?
Yes, we have the previous decision for the property, a cover letter from the applicant, a justification report, a community planning report recommending a condition, and forestry condition as well.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Sanger Smith, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Darren Sanger Smith, Structured Creations, 590 Woodland Avenue in Burlington. We're before you today to ask for 3 variances regarding a cabana or accessory structure in the rear yard. We've worked with planning to minimize variance number 1. It was at about 40%. We've increased the green space and softscaping to create a variance that it's only about 1.5% variable. The second variance is due to a rear yard setback. The rear of the property is actually a cemetery. So the impact of the accessory structure on the rear yard we feel is obviously negligible. And the variance of 0.63 is actually to the chimney abutment of the accessory structure. The variance to the actual building is slightly larger. And the last variance we're requesting is for the height. The actual building is under the allowable height. However, the height is for the chimney only. So we feel that these variances are minor. We have spoken with the neighbors. I did forward through a a letter of approval or review with from both neighbors late last night. I'm not sure if that was circulated in time, as the neighbor at 23 Robin Hood was away, and we only got that approval as of late last evening. Thank you, and I'm open to any questions that the committee might have for me.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Sanger-Smith? Or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion? Mr. Komarek?
Yeah, I find the application meets the 4 tests and is desirable. I'd like to move approval subject to the planning condition tying it to the elevations with regards to the height, and forestry condition 2.
Thank you. Seconded from Mr. Komarek's motion. Ms. Ruddick, thank you. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval, sir. You have your application has been approved. Okay, our next application is item number 14. We have a revised highlighted agenda page. It's 268 Riding Avenue. It's to construct a semi-detached garage in the rear yard. There were 7 variances. 3 of those have been removed, so we're left with 4 variances. And Madam Secretary Treasurer, can you do a brief introduction, please?
Yes, we have revised plans, the variances and waiver. Planning is recommending refusal of 2 of the variances, so I'm not sure how that would work, variances 3 and 5. Transportation Services has recommended conditions, and there's the advisory email from Metrolinx.
Okay, so you said they want refusal of
Variances
3,
number
5?
3 and 5, but
Because I see they've removed 2 and 5 and 7, but not 3. So perhaps we can hear from the applicant or the agent in that regard. The agent is Andrea Grisolia on behalf of, and looks like we have the homeowner on the line, but we'll only be hearing from the agent, I take it. Good morning. Actually, so
Mr. Chair.
Should we be hearing 14 and 15 together?
Yes, yes. Actually, that's what I was gonna see if we, because of the same variances and.
Yeah, okay, so let's deal with the 2 of them together, I take it. So also 266 Riding, it's the other half of the semi-detached garage.
Right.
And we have the applicant and the 2 homeowners on the line from 268 and from 264A.
so
That's
speaker is a neighbor for item 15.
Oh, right, so we'll hear from the neighbor after we've heard from Andrea Grisolia. Okay.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, I did make contact with the neighbor for item 15, and they had indicated that they just wanted to watch. They didn't have any submissions to add.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's hear from Andrea Grisolia.
Good morning, committee. My name is Andre Grisolia. I'm the authorized agents for the owners of 266 and 268 Riding Avenue. We are proposing, I guess, a semi-detached garages in the laneway of the 2 properties. Originally, there were 7 variances, but planning, we addressed the numbers 3 and 5, which are wrong on mine because I was looking at the original zoning notice. So they would be the setback from the center line of the laneway and the rear yard setback. At which I did submit a waiver, and I did submit a new site plan showing or drawing showing the setbacks.
So what about the fact we've taken out variance 2 and 5, and they're looking for 3 and 5?
3 and 5, yes. Yeah.
So is that a mistake that item number 2 is still being sought? The 4 extra 7.5 meters over on the sides?
Yes.
So you still want that?
I still want that, yes. Yeah.
Madam Secretary, the fact that it's crossed out on a notice, do we have an issue here? The applicant is in saying there's an error here, whether it's that 3 was supposed to be removed, not 2.
That is concerning because that's what's been submitted on file.
Yeah, that's what it was.
At the time when I submitted, it was brought to my attention that although it was submitted as based on the zoning notice, it would be different on the waiver.
So you're saying everyone, there was a meeting of the minds, everyone wanted that variance being deleted, but because they were using the numbers from the zoning
That's
notice,
right. That's right.
it was aired, unfortunately crossed out the wrong one.
Right.
So the question is, Madam Secretary Treasurer, did that get circulated to the neighbors, this revision? And do we have a notice issue or can we proceed here?
It did not get circulated through us, but it did get posted to AIC. So if anyone reviewed the material on file, they would see that the variance number 2, which is for the size of the accessory structure, has been removed rather than the setback from the lane or the rear lot line.
That was done some time ago, a couple of days ago, when it was revised. That would have been
On
posted.
February 16th.
Okay, so it's, so the issue is if someone was concerned about the size, I don't know if they were, we just have to presume, and they went and check and say, okay, I'm not concerned. They removed that variance. Perhaps it's unlikely, but members, what do you feel? Do you feel we have a notice issue?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. I'm not terribly concerned about this, to be honest, because although you make a good point, if somebody was concerned about the size of this structure and saw that variance 2 was taken out and they decided that they weren't concerned, variance 1 remains, and it also references the size of the building at 47.5 square meters. So again, I'll just put that on the table. I'm not concerned about the error here.
So just to be clear, variance 3 is no longer required then.
That's right. Anything regarding the setbacks from the center line of the laneway and the rear yard setback.
Yeah, because on your that was my question originally, because on your drawings, it doesn't look like a variance. So
that's right. Yeah.
So
we removed them completely. Yeah.
Well, it should have been 3 and 5 that were to be removed.
3 and 5, exactly. And again, when I was talking to the only difference is I referred to the zoning notice, not the actual staff report of variances.
Yeah, that's how the confusion arose. We understand that. The question is, and Mr. Taylor's opined that he doesn't feel it's material enough, and it is covered in other variances. If someone was concerned with that, you'd think they'd be more concerned with the coverage than they were with the internal size of the garage.
And the original notice would have had all 6 items.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Exactly.
If I could point out, and I know it was a little late, I just got it this morning. There is something that I submitted just to mention. I know it's too late. There's a letter of support from 264A, the owner, Ian Burton or Bert Bentron. But again, it wouldn't be to your attention because it came right this morning around 9 o'clock. Anyway.
Okay, we're talking about a notice, but again, that is someone who perhaps would be
right
the most likely to complain, and they're in support. So that's another added bullet to Mr. Taylor's position that there is no one would have been misled by this, or we would have heard from someone because they would have also been concerned with the coverage as much, if not more. Okay.
Chair, just sorry for clarification. And variance 7 is removed regarding the charging outlet in the garage.
There's something that when I was talking to the owners and I talked to transportation regarding this, there's an error on where I placed and how many I needed for the electric outlets for the chargers for electric cars. Now, in saying that, we don't want to make it a burden on this application, but the owners have stated that they don't have no intentions, and it is a variance. So we would like to have that as a variance, but although I don't want to confuse the issue, because it would be extra costs with the 4 instead of 2, because I was told by transportation it would be 1 per parking spot, which they say is supposed to be 2 per garage. Now we're looking at 2 properties, so.
This is an interesting, I don't think, have we seen this before, this requirement that you,
Yeah, it's
you
been
have-
in.
Yeah, we have seen them, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, the variance then is still required that you don't want the outlet in the garage.
That's right, yes.
Because that's one of the conditions of transportation.
That's
So
right.
why don't we let you do your presentation? So we know now that 2 of the variances requested have been removed, which is per planning's request to refuse those variances, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Is that okay, Chair? We can proceed?
Yeah, so I guess we're saying is number 7, you want that back in.
I want that back in, yes. Yeah.
So
Okay,
I think
Mr. Grisolia, for future, can you be a bit more clear with your applications? Because it's misleading to remove it and then add it at the hearing. And
But
it
is a
doesn't
little
look good
confusing
to,
also. But sorry, if I can, it is a little bit confusing that it could be considered a condition as opposed to a variance too.
I know, but the point is that you've removed it from your application as per the waiver that you submitted for
fine.
the application.
I agree.
So I'm saying you've made the errors and now you're trying to add things back in good faith. It doesn't look good at a public hearing because there's nobody here to say anything in
Right,
response
that's
to
fine.
that.
I agree. Yeah,
Thank you.
I
And
apologize.
I guess the risk is that someone checks the AIC between February 16th and the 23rd and sees that these 2 things have been removed. I don't think why anyone would care, the public or neighbors, about the variance 7 in terms of the impact on them as a neighbor. And they saw that the size was. So I agree with Mr. Taylor, but it is not the best form. So for the future.
Just, Mr. Chair, if I can just add.
We're trying to assist you here rather than saying it has to be deferred because variance 3 because to put out a proper notice. So just appreciate that. We're trying to do.
Oh, I do appreciate it. Again, I apologize for.
Please take the Secretary Treasurer's comments to heart. Okay, so I think we've already had our presentation.
No,
Stan?
yeah, just to add to the confusion, we have a similar situation with variance 6. Because if you look at transportation second condition, it reimposes variance 6.
By the width of the driveway?
Yeah, because they're asking for a driveway width of 5.93 meters. That's essentially.
He's at 6.
Yeah. So, but I mean, to me, that doesn't make that recommendation from transportation, quite frankly, doesn't make sense because you're just going to leave an orphan piece of, something that's going to wind up being unmanageable anyway.
Anyway, perhaps you can negotiate with transportation on that. So again, something else you pointed out. Anyone else have any other comments or observations, or can we? Otherwise, let's proceed to deal with this. It's a simple semi-detached garage, but we did have some additional confusion caused by what's been crossed out and now is to go back in. I can't see people's hands if anyone has their hand up to speak. Or is anyone ready to proceed? Remember, we have 2 applications, 14 and 15, which are identical.
Chair, just the revisions on this are dated February 16th, as are the date of the transportation conditions. So for me personally, I think there's sufficient confusion here between removing variances and adding them back on, that I think this item should be deferred for proper notice.
Okay, you're making a motion to that effect?
Yeah, I'm going to make that motion.
Thank you.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, the matter has been deferred, sir. We tried our best, but every time we went around the corner, another confusion issue popped up. So I guess it's when you get to the 3, It's 3 strikes and it's
I
deferred.
think it's, I personally, I think that's,
Committee's already made a decision, sir.
that's okay, that's fine. Well, I don't agree with it, but it's fine.
Yeah, okay, we'll see you back here again.
Yeah, bye-bye.
We did spend some time trying to do that. Okay, so 14 and 15 have been deferred, so we can move over to 16 has been deferred. So we're on to item number 17, which is 43 BEMERSYDE Drive. Just bear with me a second. It's an application to construct a south side second story addition above the existing dwelling and a new covered front porch. There are 3 variances. And the speakers on this application, we have just one Stephen Key, agent for the applicant. Madam Secretary Treasurer, can you do a brief introduction, please?
We have comments from Transportation Services. They're okay with the proposal and the advisory email from Metrolinx.
Okay, that's all we have. Mr. Key, welcome.
Morning, Sir Chair and committee members. My name is Stephen Chi, Senior Planner from Design Plan Services.
Okay. Pretty straightforward application. I don't think we need a presentation. Members, any questions for Mr. Key?
Through you, Sir Chair, I just have one correction to the notice.
Yep.
It's to the purpose of the application. So I think as stated on the notice of application, the purpose of the application is to construct a south side second story addition above the existing dwelling and a new covered front porch. That is incorrect. To clarify, the proposal is for a 1-story addition on the south side and a front 1-story addition with a new front porch. There are no second story addition proposed.
Okay, Madam Secretary Treasurer, do we have a notice issue? Purpose of the application is wrong. Sir, did you notice that when the application was submitted, or did you point it out to staff, or?
That is correct. So the applicant actually pointed out as soon as we received the notice, but we haven't heard back from the Committee of Adjustment staff. But I don't think this will require a new notice to be issued because the actual proposal would consider to be an improvement of the current description. As addition is only for 1 story, not for 2 story, and is only for a small area. So I believe the correction can be made on the notice of decision.
Okay.
I do agree that there shouldn't, but I don't see a front addition. I see a side addition.
Yeah, so it's a side and front addition if you look at the site plan. So it kind
It's
of
all combined together, correct? Like it's not separated by anything.
No, it's not separated. So it's just a 1-story addition.
So I think if we fix it to say a 1-story south side addition and then remove.
South and I believe just to add front to be safe, but the variances
But
are
it's
the
not
same.
in the front of the house is what I'm saying. It's all to the side of the house.
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah, so that's fine.
So you can't say above the existing dwelling, that has to
No,
come
no,
out?
we'll remove that wording.
Yeah.
We'll fix it.
Okay, otherwise, very simple, 3 very minor or minor variances. Any members would you like to, Mr. Key, advise members of anything else before I see if they have any questions for you? Or if someone's ready to make a motion. Anything you'd like to advise in addition?
No, at this point. Thank you.
Okay, members, any questions for Mr. Key or someone ready for a motion?
No questions.
Okay. Mr. Kamerick, did you have a question? I saw your hand up.
No, I just, I'd like to move a motion. I find the application.
Ms. Ruddick, I think, was going to make a motion.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Before you go ahead.
I just want to know if you had any question.
Yeah, no, I find the application to meet the 4 tests and move approval subject to forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ruddick.
To note the revised purpose?
Yeah, with the notation about the revised purpose. The amendments to the purpose, it's a good friendly amendment as revised by Madam Secretary Treasurer has the wording for that.
I'll second.
Okay, on that friendly amendment, seconded, all in favor? It's unanimous. You have your approval. Thank you, Mr. Key. We'll see you again.
You this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next application, item number 18 is 56 Long Branch Avenue. It's an application to construct a second-story rear addition, and there are 5 variances. Madam Secretary Treasurer, can you do a brief introduction? And there was one speaker, Peter Gabor.
There's nothing on file.
Okay, Mr. Gabor.
Can you hear me?
We can now.
Okay, thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Peter Gabor, architect from 106 Alder Crescent in Toronto, and I'm here to represent the owners of 56 Long Branch Avenue. I can provide a presentation if that's required.
Okay. Let's see, members, do you want a presentation? I assume are you already over the 35.35 permitted FSI? Going to 0.47. Are you already over that? Like, what are you at before the addition?
Through the chair, the current FSI is at its maximum, 0.35. We are seeking variance to achieve a FSI of 0.47 to provide the necessary GFA to accommodate the second story rear addition.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Gabor? And Mr. Gabor, we'd like to advise the committee of anything before. I don't think we need a fulsome presentation. Okay, any questions, members? If not, we don't have anything on file, no comments from city departments or neighbors. So.
I think we have forestry comments, 1 and 2.
Okay.
Conditions.
I assume Mr. Gabor is fine with those conditions.
Through the chair, could you please advise what those conditions are? Because I believe we have addressed all concerns with regard to tree declaration. We have provided a survey of existing trees with photographic survey as well. There are no trees impacted by this development. All trees, both city-owned and on-site, are to be preserved in situ.
Okay, so they're asking that 1 and 2 is to allow an application for a permit to injure either number 1, a public tree, or number 2, a private tree. So if you're not damaging any trees, I assume you have no problem with that condition.
No, we do not.
Okay, members, any other questions for Mr. Gabor? Someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm satisfied that the variances requested meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act. And I move approval subject to urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. Seconded for that. Mr. Komorik, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee.
Okay, and we can now move on to item number 19, which is our last item of the morning session, 5 HAVENRIDGE Drive. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. And it looks like there are 7 variances. Madam Secretary Treasurer, can you do a brief presentation? We have Michaela Silva as the speaker, the applicant, and we have the neighbor, an area resident from 206 Dixon Road on the line as well. Perhaps staff can confirm we have both speakers on the line.
We have comments from Transportation Services, and they're okay with the proposal.
Again, that's all we have in terms of
For the file, yes.
Okay, so we do have the neighbor on the line, correct?
Yes, we have both speakers on the line.
Okay, so let's hear first from Michaela Silva, the agent for the applicant.
Of the committee. Hi, good morning. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, my name is Michaela Silva, and I am the applicant on this application. Should I do a brief presentation for this application?
Yes, please. We do have a neighbor here, and we have plenty of time, so please go ahead.
All right, so basically the proposal before you is to allow a new 2-story detached dwelling with 3-car integral garage in lieu of the existing 1-story dwelling and detached 2-car garage. The proposed dwelling and garage are to be built on slightly improved side yard and front yard setbacks from the existing. We comply with the allowed GFA and coverage, as well as the length of building. I also noticed that planning staff had no comments to our application, and therefore I do believe that this proposal is appropriate for the development and use of the land. I also believe the variances are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act. And I'm open to any questions from the committee members and the neighbors as well.
Okay. Members, any questions for Ms. Silva before we move on to hear from the neighbor? Mr. Taylor?
You're muted, Don.
Sorry, thank you. Ma'am, could you please comment on the side yard variances proposed as they relate to the existing side yards?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So the existing side yard setbacks on the north side, the garage is a little bit skewed towards the back. So the existing side yard setback for the garage is, let me just get that for you. It's a 3 feet 10, and I'm actually proposing 4 feet. So like I said, it's slightly improved at 4 feet. And on the south yard
I'm sorry. Could you tell me what the current and proposed side yards are in meters?
Oh, in meters, yes, I can. Hold on, just give me 1 second. So the proposed are 1.22 meters.
Yeah, I know what's
on the north.
proposed. I know what's proposed. I'm asking what exists.
Okay.
What are the existing north and south side lot lines in
Yeah.
meters?
Okay, so the existing is 1.17 for the garage on the north side. And the south side is 1.65 meters.
So you're improving both situations.
Yes, slightly, yes, I am.
Slightly, yes. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Or if not, we'll go to the neighbor at 206 Dixon Road, which is the corner. It's right next door. Perhaps we can get the location map. It's sort of, it's a corner property, and this is right next door, standing in sort of like a key lot situation. The subject property is the key lot for, 206 and the next 2 properties after that. So let's hear from the neighbor, Christine Ciccone.
Yes, I live on the south side. The backyard is on the south side.
Stating your name and address for the record, please.
It's 206 Dixon Road.
Yes.
Yes,
And
I just was concerned about how close it was coming towards what the difference was going to be, but I don't really have any more questions at this time.
Okay, as you've heard Mr. Taylor's question of the applicant or the agent, the side yard situation is actually improving compared to the existing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's going to be, it's a 2-story house. I don't know if it's a bungalow there now, but in terms of the distance, it is actually going to improve compared to the existing.
Yes, I understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You just didn't state your name. You are Christine Ciccone.
Christine Ciccone, yes.
My pronunciation wasn't bad either, so.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Ciccone? Or if not, is someone ready for a motion? Or I don't think we need to hear back from Michaela to that, because neighbor said she's got no concern, especially after Mr. Taylor's astute questioning. Mr. Kamara?
Just a comment, I believe forestry in their consolidated memo was requesting conditions 2 and 3. And condition 2 is for private trees and 3 is for donation in lieu of a tree, which is a little bit unusual, but I just wonder if the applicant's aware of those.
Okay, Ms. Silva, can you respond to that? Are you aware of that?
Then I'm okay. Yes, I am. I have heard of that, and I'm okay with the conditions as per the forestry memo.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any other questions, or is someone ready for a motion?
Well, based on that, I'm good to go with the motion. I believe it meets the 4 tests and would like to move approval subject to forestry's conditions 2 and 3.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Komarek. Seconder for that. Mr. Palmer, thank you. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Ms. Sylvan. Thank you, Ms. Ciccone. And looks like we've completed the morning session, and it's early enough. I assume, Madam Secretary Treasurer, and staff, we can return at 1 p.m. You have sufficient time to do the sound check. And it looks
That's
like
correct. Yes.
relatively brief brief afternoon session this week as compared to last week. Okay, we'll see everyone back here at 1 p.m. Have a good break.